Pizza time.
She takes on every quest, conquer levels like a true gaming fiend. She's got the skill, she's got the moves. She's the queen of the virtual scene. Gaming chick, oh wow. She's a gaming chick, ruling the gaming world with every click. Oh wow. She's the one to beat. She'll never back down or take defeat. Gaming chick.
Hello once again, all my chickadees. Game & Chick is back once again with another review. Before we get started, I want to give a big thank you to the folks over at Nintendo for providing me a review copy to make this review possible. Thank you so much. So now with that said, let's get on to it. Pizza Tower is a wacky and crazy Wario-like title that is developed and published by Torre Pizza. With this title already wowing people on PC last year, it is now time for Nintendo Switch users to get their own slice of the big ol' pie. But does this game fill the void in Nintendo fans' hearts that yearn for more Wario games? Or does it come up short and end up more an homage act instead? Only one way to find out, so it's pizza time! Now off the bat, I just want to say, I've never been a huge Wario enthusiast. I know, that's blasphemy, but before you get angry and start beating me with bars of soap rolled up in socks, let me explain. What I mean by this is that I've played nearly all the Wario games that I can think of, from titles like Wario Land to WarioWare, and while I did enjoy those titles, it didn't make me get hyped and pull a DJ Khaled another one and want another game immediately. To me, they're just fun-in-the-moment games filled with tons of funny antics and amazing fart powers from Wario, whom we all strive to fart like. Or is that just me? My Legend of Wario Farts of the Kingdom fantasies aside, Pizza Tower, since its 2023 release, has been lauded as a complete spiritual successor to the Wario franchise itself, which is pretty high praise if you ask me. And here in Pizza Tower, you take on the role of Peppino Spaghetti in a platformer game style that aims to keep the player on their toes with insane, chaotic, or even silly end-level sequences that seemingly reminded us of the antics that took place in Rayman Legends. When you boot up Pizza Tower for the first time, it becomes blatantly obvious that this is going to be a Wario-like game, just as you thought it would be if you've only ever just seen the trailers for the game. But more than that, after playing the first level itself, you realize this is actually a straight-up bona fide platformer at heart in general. Homages or callbacks to Wario aside, this is a true platformer above all else at heart. While yes, you'll get obvious throwbacks, nods, and even references from games like Donkey Kong, Sonic, Rayman, and even some Mario thrown in here and there, the variety of new, interesting, or creative incentives used to lure the player in my opinion, overshadows just references and nostalgia overload. Because Pizza Tower itself is all about the quick, rapid-fire platforming that goes 0 to 100 from start to finish. To beat some of these levels, you better be on time with your platformer skills with your pizza game, or else end up 30 minutes late and being stiffed out of a payment by Michelangelo. That jerk never pays for pizza anymore. For an indie title, the presentation of the game is pretty dang spectacular. I know it's a bit of a taboo to use the phrase for an indie title, but even though I just used it, I don't really like to if I'm going to be honest. Why? Well, because you kind of downplay the creator's work by saying for an indie title, because it's kind of like saying, well, she looks pretty, I mean, for an ugly person. It's a backhanded compliment because indie games and their developers have come so far with their craft, so much to the point that a lot of indie games are more enjoyable nowadays and more creative than half the industry's AAA games, if I'm going to be honest. To all the critics out there who downplay the hard work of indie games, I just have to say, you sick sons of snitches. You walk in here on your 2 legs, all fat and cocky, looking at me with my indies, and you tell me all their games are bad? I hope all of you have sons, handsome, beautiful, articulate sons who are talented and star athletes, and they have their legs taken away. I pray you know that pain and that hurt.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby! Don't you put that on us!
Okay, I went a little too Ricky Bobby with that one. But you know what they say, if you ain't first, you're last. Shake and bake! Pizza Tower has extremely smooth animations intertwined with dynamic sprites, and a visual style that makes it seem like a constant case of anxiety, like you would see from characters in an old 1990s cartoon, or even from something like Ed, Ed and Eddie, with how dramatic some of the models and animations can get. It's like Peppino is about to have a nervous breakdown and snap at any moment, which makes him an extremely funny character to play as. Hopefully he doesn't become self-aware, however, and end up getting mad at you for ordering pizza from his restaurant 5 minutes before they close, forcing them to stay open later to accommodate, which turns him into Jack from The Shining and leads him on a horror-filled frenzy. Because like the Magic Man says, now you see me, and now you don't. Ninja vanish! The movement in Pizza Tower feels intuitive and responsive. It excels at exactly what you hope and wish for in a platforming title, with no amount of input delay to impede on your enjoyment of your movements and speed itself. As Peppino, you will use momentum-based movement as you navigate through intricate levels in this roughly 6 to 7 hour game, with abilities like dashing for extra speed boost, with just enough freedom to control changing direction a la 2D Mario games, where you can redirect your jumping or running at the drop of a hat. Thankfully, this game isn't in 3D, otherwise it would end up just like a 3D Mario game for me, with myself bonking my head against a wall 500 times because I mistime my jumps all the time like the clumsy person I am. As stated, momentum is the name of the game here, and this title really wants you to be as crazy and chaotic as possible, just as the game was designed. And it wants you to maintain your high-speed platforming so that you may plow through obstacles and send them flying like you're Shredder making some turtle soup. The intensity is ever showing in itself when you arrive at the standard escape sequences that platformers tend to have, with an enemy giving chase to you that you can't fight, and instead you must pull a Sonic and go fast and speed your way through the sequences that have you running at top speeds to avoid being destroyed, which is both intense and thrilling, and allows you to experiment with both your momentum-based movements, as well as figuring out different combinations of moves to pull off an even faster completion time the more skills you get as you play. These are some of the only times you can actually die in this game, to be honest. Yeah, that's kind of weird, right? You can only die in escape missions and boss fights. Everything else in the game, for basic skills, it's basically Kirby's Epic Yard. That's a baby's toy. While that may seem like a negative side of Puyo for this game, which I can understand for some people, it however still doesn't negate the sheer amount of creativity the actual level design brings to you by itself. Outside escape missions and boss fights, which never feel lazily put together just for the sake of there being more levels, which a lot of games tend to do sometimes for padding. Honestly, that's the only real critique of the game I have overall, to be transparent about everything. Its difficulty level for regular missions, offering a fun time, yes, but not what I wanted out of a platformer game exactly. But instead got what I wanted in escape missions and boss fights and pizza time sequences. Pizza time sequences? Like Turtles in Time picking up a pizza box and proclaiming "Pizza time!" only to get extremely angry at your friend who sucks at the game and keeps dying because they stole the pizza you needed because you're only on 2 bars of health left and now you're going to get a game over? No? Okay, just my anger issues with the PTSD? I figured as much. No, what I'm referring to is what takes place at the end of levels, where you must race backwards through the whole level if you remember the way before time runs out, which can be both frustrating, angering, and get your adrenaline going, because they're filled with obstacles and enemies in your way that make you lean forward in your chair activating serious mode in the hopes of surviving, so you do not have to repeat the escape sequence all over again. If this is sounding familiar, then yes, you are correct and you deserve a cookie. But I don't have any, so go ask my personal chef for one. He might have one for you.
Fingers me home, daddy who gonna say do? Yea, burst beer, horn, beer, skirt, bork, bork, bork.
On second thought, maybe not. This mechanic is of course a clear nod to titles like Wario Land 4, or even more modern platformer titles in recent memory. Creativity and utilization of different mechanics is what makes this game so dang addicting, especially when using transformations and mechanics that are unique and special to each level, which allows players to stay immersed and never feel like the same design, structure, or challenge of a level feels copy and pasted. Because one minute you can be sliding to avoid stuff, and the next you're rolling, becoming a different character, making a skilled jump, getting lucky in a boss fight, and pulling off a clutch win. It's all just so unhinged and frantic the entire time that after you hit the title screen, you'll be left telling yourself, what the heck did I even just play? But even asking that, you will know you had a great time and that it's going to be a while before you play another platformer as good as Pizza Tower was, confusing or not. Beating Pizza Tower was a treat, but it's like eating a spoonful of Drano. Sure, it'll clean you out, but it will leave you hollow inside. And that's how completing this title felt for the platforming genre. Overall, at the end of the day, Pizza Tower was an absolute blast from start to finish. Usually this is the part where I go through some pros and cons, but really my only gripe was the difficulty level during regular missions as my only real complaint, as there's no frame drops, no cheapness, no unnecessary padding, no glitches. It was just a fun platformer that showed that indies, alongside Nintendo with Mario, are still the heart and soul of the platforming genre, and that they're here to stay for a long time to come, with Pizza Tower leading the charge on that front. So with all that having been said, my verdict is clear. Game & Chick says bye now.
Pizza time!